Hey everyone, Rayce Robinson. Hope you're having a great day. It's your favorite Florida lender, and I'm answering a question that I get asked all the time, which is, what can I ask a lender, either when you're the listing agent or maybe you're working with a lender that you haven't worked with before? What are the questions that I can ask a lender to make sure that the buyer is actually going to get approved for the loan? And surprisingly, I get very few calls from agents when I put an approval out there and it gets accepted, approval letter out and it gets accepted, asking me or calling me and asking me about the buyer. But I think it's actually a good thing to do. So with that, here are the top 3 things to find out. Number 1, the top thing to find out, in my opinion, is ask some questions about the credit report. And probably the biggest thing to ask is about the disputes on the report. One of the common errors that loan officers make is that on a 17, 18 page credit report, they may not go through every single page and look at every single trade line. Yet, on FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and most loans out there, you cannot have, for the most part, disputes on the credit report. They have to be removed. And in some cases, removed before the borrower can sign the application. And that creates a problem because in many times if the lender has missed it, they're going to be playing catch up trying to get these disputes removed. Very rarely are they going to make the closing date if there are several disputes that need to be removed and they haven't even started the process. So hopefully they've caught that up front. But by calling them and asking them, does the borrower have any disputes on the credit report? You know, the lender can always lie, but that's definitely a good question to ask, and it may make them take a look, and you might find out right up front if there's going to be an issue delaying the closing. Okay, number two are the tax returns. Now this one's harder to ask because it's kind of late in the game if the borrower is, or if the lender is just now looking at the tax returns when the borrower is, getting ready to buy the house. So one of the things that you can ask the lender is, have they got the tax returns? Have they reviewed them? And the 2 things that I think you should ask are, 1, did they take into account any Schedule A or unreimbursed employee expenses? And 2, are there any Schedule E or any other deductions that would affect the borrower's income? Just by asking the questions that way, you're going to sound educated and you're going to sound like you know what the lender should be looking at. And it's going to put the lender on alert. You don't want to be combative with the lender, but it's good to sound like you are invested in this transaction and you want to make sure it goes smooth for everybody involved. So those are 2 really good questions to ask. Really, though, you want to work with a lender that up front is going to get tax returns and actually review them. Normally, unlike the disputes where there's going to delay a closing, if there's a big issue on the tax returns, chances are it's going to kill the deal. And that is no fun for anybody. Okay, number 3. And number 3 kind of ties into number 2. And this isn't really necessarily something to ask, but just to take note of, which is, right now the loans are harder than they've ever been, truthfully sometimes to the point of being ridiculous. With the credit report and all the different things that you can catch on tax returns and pay stubs and all the documentation, it's a lot of work for one person to do. So one red flag that you want to be aware of is if you call and you're working with a lender that doesn't have a team, they're just very likely to make mistakes. And no offense, a long time ago I was a lender that pretty much worked on his own, but things were much simpler back then. Nowadays, in my opinion, if you're going to be a lender, it's very, very hard to do that without support. Using a loan coordinator or an assistant or even a loan partner, somebody that's actually, everybody's getting involved and getting these transactions closed. So one of the things to do is to figure out if this particular lender has a team or support. And if they don't, you're going to want to make sure that you're getting good updates all the way through the transaction, because in that type of situation, it may take a little longer to get the appraisal ordered or the underwriting approval, or all those different things just can run a little bit behind. And then 1, obviously delay the closing, or 2, if there is going to be an issue in underwriting, you want it to happen up front, not 1 week before closing. So this, if the lender is working, by themselves without a team, those are common things that can affect your transaction. Okay, so those are 3 suggestions. And one other thing to do is this. I know there's a lot of great lenders out there, and you may have relationships with different ones, but I would love the opportunity to talk with you, because we are very straight with our clients. When you send us a buyer, we call them back quickly, and we'll tell you right up front what the issues are going to be, what the problems might be, and we have a team, which means when you send us somebody to pre-qualify, You can't just ask for the tax returns. You have to follow up with them again and again, and as you know, probably again, to get the documentation up front before they went to contract to make sure there's no issues. So myself and my team would love the opportunity to talk with you, share what we do that's different. We definitely pride ourselves in the communication that we have all the way through the transaction, and that if we tell you somebody's approved, that you can take it to the bank. All right, with that, have a great day. Call me if you need anything. Forward this to anybody you think this would help. And as always, have a great day. Talk to you soon.